Welcome to part 3, where I'm going to continue explaining about the state and ability differences. We mentioned in the previous video that only one active state is going to remain active. The abilities, if you try to perform an ability, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the active one. I'm going to show you let's go back to the example we had before, which is the equip. Now, if the state is active, or the state performs as a start, it will try to start the new the ability that you assigned it, but it's not gonna set it to be the current active ability. It doesn't work that way. So to help you understand this, what start ability does, if you go to the parent, and not this parent, the one even above it, start active ability is what this is. Start active ability is what's gonna call the set current active ability. You can start an ability without making it active. How do you know if it's active or not? From the debugger that we had in the on the controller, you'll see that I'm printing the current active state all the time, as well as the current active ability. So you can start an ability without making it active, and that's something that will lead to passive abilities. You can start an ability that doesn't necessarily do a physical animation, if that makes sense. In our case, equip ability will definitely be physical, so I'm calling the parent. Then I'm checking if the montage is set to something. If not, just take the one from the data asset. After you take it, I'm gonna change my moveset to the combat moveset, since this is equip animation. I'm changing my movement speed, as well as setting the combat status. Combat status is a gameplay container that can have multiple gameplay tags at the same time. This can give you a lot of possibilities during gameplay or during storylines, however you want to use it. So it's basically something. This container is specific more to combat, so make sure you have that. The status combat in combat means that you have your weapon equipped. So I'm just trying to clarify this. The modify type is if you want to add this or if you want to remove it. So by the end of equip, the end equip ability should fire, which leads us back to idle. Now if we try to do it, let's see what we have. So if you like to click lefty click, it's not happening. We might have forgot something, so let's go back to debugging. I'm not gonna cut this section because I want you to see how we debug this, so you can have an easier way of dealing with things. So the thing that will run when we try to equip is the controller, which is assigned here. I'm going to close these for now because I don't need all of them. And I'm gonna try to check which one is firing. So let me try to add a breakpoint here. If attack fired and it passed through the can fire input from the mapping, this should proceed and stop the game, and it definitely did. So in this case, I know this is firing. So let me try add the breakpoint here and remove the one I have here. It also tried to fire, so this one will continue to this one, and let me see if equip even returns something. So here, this returned true, so equip didn't even run. Now let me check why equip didn't even run. Let's go to the equip state, and that's something that I want you also to keep your eye on. Now if you go back to the weapon that we had, which is the sword and shield, we're using this data asset. We had the equip state that will fire the equip ability, which was here, and if you open it up, we can add a breakpoint in here and see why this didn't even fire. Now if you play, try to equip, this tried to run, it returned false, you can see on the screen. Now why it returned false, we'll find out. Now let me start from the bottom. This one is true, this one was true, this one was true, this one was false. Now why was this false? Because none of equip montage was set, as well as nothing in the data asset existed. If you double make sure that data asset what it had, you'll definitely see that there was no montage assigned with the data asset. So let's add the equip like we were supposed to, and now we can try. If you try playing, this has returned true, so therefore it should proceed. Now let me remove the breakpoint, and definitely what happened was I equipped the weapon animation, and with the equip animation I equipped the two weapons that I had. If you noted on the top left, we had one that is active, player equip ability underscore C underscore Z underscore 0, and then from that we went back to idle. So this is how abilities and states work together, and this is how I want you to debug these things. Always make sure that the debugger, which is the state.idle, and the current active ability is running, which is what you have. Let's see, where did I put that? A sample controller. You see, always keep this active for your own good, basically. So for equipping, and that's what equip is about, we successfully made the player equip. How about attacking? Let's go back to attacking. Now, equip is done. That's it for equip. Everything was finished. I forgot to mention one little thing about this. You might have an ability that has a specific values that you want to reset or set back. You can do that at the end of the ability, or if the ability was somehow stopped in the middle, you have something called cancel. Sorry, not state, the ability. There's something called cancel ability. Now this have to be called manually, so you need to know what is cancelling what. Where do you know? I'll show you in the what do we call it? I'll show you in the light attack section how this is behaving. So in the ability and cancel ability is the ones responsible for resetting the variable associated with every ability. So keep that in mind. Now, if you go to attacking, which is what is gonna run after equip. If equip is so the condition to run equip, which is something I forgot to cover. Equip ability had multiple conditions. The first condition was the availability of the montage. The second condition was one of these states are active, idle, walking, or sprinting. Now you can see on default, I'm in idle. If I start to walk, I'm in walking. And if I hold the sprint, I'm not sprinting because I don't have any button associated with the sprinting. So let's go back to the player controller, and we have equip. This is where you find sprinting. If you're not sure of one input, just simply type it down. You see sprinting will attempt to fire this, do once. This one will fail because we didn't have any sprinting input here. So make sure you add the sprint input as well as the sprint input here. The tag has to be assigned to input.something, so keep that in mind. So if you try playing now, you see I'm in walking. If I hold the space, it's in sprinting, but my speed not increase. Why didn't it increase? That's something that I want to show you now. Now, you have a sprinting state, and the sprinting state, what this does is it will do this max walk speed, which will run the sprinting speed of 600. So let me add a breakpoint just to double make sure that sprinting is indeed changing the max walk speed. And it ran. That means this was running, but I didn't increase my speed because my default speed was 600. So what do I do to change this? You have two options. One, duplicate and move it somewhere else and assign it to the data asset, or make a child of it, which is something I prefer if you're not going to change any functionality. So let me go to an empty space in my content browser, and I'm going to create a new folder called player states. I'm going to open this. I'm going to call this bp underscore sorry, I did not assign a parent. The parent would be the player sprinting state. So from here, I'm going to call it bp underscore sword and shield, SAS for the shortcut, sprinting state. Now here you'll see a variable that I had here set. It was set to 600, so let's put it 800 or 1000 for now. And by the way, by assigning a child, you don't have to set any of the variables you had on the right. So if you have a stick gameplay tag, it's going to continue remaining as it is. So this won't change anything simply because we did not change the one on the data asset. So let me change that to SAS sprinting state. Now this should fire, and if it fired, my speed should increase. Let's try, and definitely my speed increased. So that's for you also to know how to debug this. So since I have sprinting now fired, let's worry about attacking. Well, how is the attacking gonna be handled? So to do attacking, which is also gonna happen after equipping is handled. So if you go back to equipping and we open this ability up, I have to be either in idle, walk, or sprint, and at the same time I should not be without combat. So basically, if you're in combat, this won't fire. This will return false and it won't fire. But if you're not in combat, it will return true, and therefore it will fire. And I should at least have one equipped weapon. So if you're not in combat, you can equip. If you are in combat, equip won't run, so it will return false. From the false return, it will try to attempt to run attacking. Now let's do attacking. And this is where all the action is gonna be held. Now for attacking state, similarly to equip, nothing different than what you see there. At the end of any state, I always have this. It's just a matter of habit, really. Constructing, I'm getting the ability, and on the start, I'm performing the selected ability. Now you have an array on the right side. You can see I have an array, but it only has the light attack right now. We can always extend, modify, remove, add, however you like. So this is similarly to what we had on equip. I already explained what this function does. So let me check right away what light attack is about. Now for light attack, again, we're gonna check if there is an animation assigned in the data asset, and I'm not checking this anymore. I'm gonna have to be in combat. That's one thing, and I'm gonna have to have a weapon equipped. So right now we don't have any weapon equipped. We don't have any animations assigned except the ones from the primary attack, which is Aurora. This won't even fire. You won't even see it. So let's do different types of attack from the protector. That's one of them. I'm gonna explain these anim modifiers, so don't worry about it. The play sound, I used to have a sound, so I'm just gonna remove these for now. Rotate to targeted actor. What this does is if you have something, you're targeting something, and what do you call it? And you want the animation to rotate towards him. Have this modifier right here. You can also adjust his speed. Buffer input, I already explained in the overview what this already is doing, so keep that in mind. Trace, self-explanatory as well. I already explained this in the overview. You can have multiple traces to control or only one, no problem. If you don't have, I don't have a left hand trace, so it doesn't matter. But I have the right hand one, so this one will fire. At the end of it, if I have any of these inputs, it will instantly cancel. And this one is also self-explanatory. I already explained this. So let's go back to attacking, and I want to explain a little bit more. On start ability, I'm getting the values from the data asset. I'm getting the combo attack index, which is at 0 by default. It's gonna run the first one on the index, which is gonna be this one, index 0. If you click again, which is in this input buffer, oh, it's actually not assigned even, because that's the end of the combo. I should have got the 1-1. There you go. So let me reassign the values here. Combo 1, 0, 1, combo 1, 0, 2, and then combo 1, 0, 3. The end of the combo would be combo 1, 0, 4, which is the animation that we had here. Now let's go back to this one. So if the first one gonna be at index 0, the next one that will come in, if you have buffered it, it will be at index 1. So I'm increasing this one by 1 every time you click left click. So what you need to understand here is this is connected directly to the input buffer state for the attacking state, which is what I explained in the overview again earlier. Now if the buffered input is attack and I'm in light attack, start ability, off the current active ability, which is going to be the light attack ability. So this way I know which value I'm getting every time I click it. Now I mentioned something about if you have variables that you want to change or you want to modify if you exit an ability or if you cancel out of it. Now there is two things to keep in mind here. If an ability ended normally, like this one, we reach the end ability of gameplay tag, simply reset the value back to 0. And if you want to check anything else, you can do it here. But what happens if I was attacking but something forced me out of the attacking? For example, I got hit by something. That is something to keep in mind. Now if you got hit by something, you're gonna have to go to the state that will run if it cancels you out. So for example, it's gonna be hit state. Now for hit state, what I'm gonna do on the start of it is I'm gonna cancel attack abilities. So that's a function that I had. So every type of ability that has variables that will need to reset if they are cancelled, I have heavy attack, light attack, as well as special attack. These, for all of the functions that I have, I'm calling the cancel ability. So make sure you know what is cancelling into what and what is chaining into what. So that's how light attack is being handled in this sense. Now we set up the animation where we never tested if they're working or not. Let me try. Now if we equip and we again try to attacking, and you can see right here all the animations that are working. If you assign the montages anim notifiers, so same as the previous animation, no change in here. How the buffer input works already should be clear. The rotate to targeted actor and so on. All the other animation will also have the same thing. The last animation, if you notice on the previous ones, there's a last registered input and it's going to allow any other attack input that you have. The last one won't have it simply because there's no chain at the end of it. So just simply reset back the values back to 0. And that's how changing equip the state, as equip state, not changing but modifying the animation, modifying the attack animation, how to change a state entirely and assign it to the data asset. That's that's gonna cover everything for attacking. In the next video, we're gonna worry about the AI and we will take it from there. So see you in the next one.